It's 1992, Bergen Elementary, in the small mountain town I grew up in Colorado, and it's my favorite day of the year. It's field day. And as I'm lining up for my next competition, I might as well have been Braveheart's daughter. I'm talking child-sized kilt and blue war paint. I am ready to destroy the competition, to do whatever it takes to win this next competition, and add yet another blue ribbon to my extensive ribbon collection, which I 100% keep in a box underneath my bed and occasionally take out and count like I'm Scrooge McDuck counting my coins or something. Because each one of these ribbons tells me something about myself, that I'm successful. Probably like many of you, I was handed a societal script from a young age, and it was all about success, being centered on achievement, winning, accomplishments, of extrinsic motivation, which is all rooted in doing things so we can prove our worth to other people. You get the best grades, you win all the awards, competitions, so that you can get into the highest profile school, where then you're gonna make it into a prestigious job. You're gonna climb as high as humanly possible so you can make the most money, have the fanciest title, show everyone how successful you are, and maybe by age 65, then you can retire, having the most accomplishments possible, and then you can do what it is that you actually want to do with your life. This is success. This is what the recipe for happiness is, right? Sound familiar? Yeah. I'm here to tell you this particular societal script for success is a lie. And it's not just a lie, it's a particularly dangerous one that is quietly causing so many of us to be overwhelmed, unfulfilled, and miserable. It was something I'd seen time and time again during my career as both an entrepreneur and a business journalist. I'd interviewed over 1,000 business leaders around the world, and many of them, despite reaching the upper echelons of what we know of as success, were falling apart behind the scenes. They were stressed, overwhelmed, and I rarely met anyone who was actually happy. Yet, I would occasionally meet that one outlier who had achieved success, but was also happy, healthy, grounded, and almost seemed like they were thriving amidst it all. It was only later that I would come to realize that they were doing something differently. They were focusing on 3 key elements of success that most of us completely overlook. Unfortunately for me, it was information I came by the hard way. By age 33, I had already co-founded and sold a media company. I was a keynote speaker. I was invited to exclusive events with big-name people. My 8-year-old self from field day would have been so proud of that high achiever I had come to be. Yet I was miserable. Chronic stress, depression, burnout. In 2017, I found myself crumpled on the floor of our guest room in the middle of a full-scale panic attack. I will never forget the look on my terrified husband's eyes when he opened the door and found me on that floor. I had let things deteriorate to this point because it just seemed normal, right? Everybody that I knew was stressed and overwhelmed and too busy and exhausted, so I just kept pushing through, ignoring my health, my relationships, in pursuit of more and more success and achievement. But by 2020, it had gotten so bad that I ended up having to resign from the company that I co-founded and genuinely loved. It was at this point that I finally asked myself, am I the problem, or is the way that I'm thinking about success the problem? Fortunately, I had all of these outliers I had met who seemed to have some sort of answer, and I became obsessed with investigating, were they built differently, or were they doing something differently? This curiosity turned into a full-scale book project. I ended up reviewing a bunch of my old interviews, poring over research, and interviewing a number of people that I found who also fit this mold, who seemed to be thriving and successful. And what I discovered ultimately completely changed my life. All of these people had taken that traditional success script and they had thrown it out the window. They knew that it sets us up for failure. And this wasn't just mere opinion. This was backed by research. In one 2001 Journal of Neuroscience study, they found that when we anticipate a reward, aka extrinsic motivation, it triggers a surge of dopamine in the same region of the brain that's associated with drug addiction. Our relentless pursuit of more and more and more achievement follows the same patterns as addiction. Think about it. You set your goal, you achieve it, you feel a brief thrill of success, and then what? You have to set the next goal, the next mile marker, and it has to be bigger and better than the last one. We just do this over and over and over again, increasing the intensity every single time we do it, because there's not ever enough. There's no defined end point besides age 65. And the worst part is, all of the things that we are chasing so relentlessly aren't even the things that make us happy or fulfilled as humans. In fact, more often than not, the more we chase these achievement-oriented goals, the more likely we are to sacrifice and neglect the things that actually do make us happy, which are, per Harvard's Human Flourishing Program, there's 5 key elements that they've defined. They know what they are. Purpose and meaning, feeling aligned with your character and values, feeling life satisfaction and joy in what you're doing, being mentally and physically healthy and well, and having deep, meaningful social relationships. You might have noticed all of those things we pursue in our idea of success, none of them are on the list. It's like we are chasing the wrong things, but we are so overwhelmed and so busy that we don't realize we are pursuing the wrong target the whole time. So what's the alternative? The outliers that I'd met, they had 3 things in common that they consistently focused on: purpose, passion, and quality of life. All of these are intrinsic motivators, things that you do for your own inherent satisfaction. And they align with the 5 core elements of human flourishing. So, number 1, purpose. They focus on having the most impact that they can on something that they care about. One leader that I met, she had climbed to the top of the corporate ranks over 20 years at the largest global financial institution in the world. She had made it to the top. And then she was diagnosed with cancer. And on the operating table, she kept thinking about all of these things that she'd been chasing, the status, the titles, the wealth. None of it mattered. All she could think about were her friends and family and the fact that she hadn't made the impact that she wanted to with her life. So when she went into remission, she resigned from her role and founded the organization of her dreams, funding underrepresented and underserved founders. And now she is the happiest and healthiest she has ever been. Number 2, passion. They pursue what lights them up, their genuine interest areas, what they actually want to do instead of what they should do or what looks good on paper. One woman, starting all the way back in undergrad, had just an incessant passion for learning about human healing. She even created her own major around it in college, then went on to continue to study different healing modalities. She was so passionate about it, she took the herbs from her garden, turned them into a cute little healing balm that she sold at the farmer's market on her side. It's just her passion project. But they were so effective that they ultimately just turned into a multi-million-dollar skincare line, as you do. Every day, she gets to go into work and learn more and more about the things that she loves, and she gets to call that work. Number 3, quality of life. They focus on building their career around the things that matter most to them, instead of neglecting the things that matter most to them for their career. One leader took this so far that in 1989, she co-founded her company so that she could live her ideal life. That was the purpose of the organization. She wrote down her ideal life on a piece of paper. It included things like having daily time to nurture for her health, her mental health, her physical health, having ample time with her friends and family, having limited stress, and having tons of time off so she could travel and pursue other things besides work. For 35 years, she ran her organization like this, even saying no to growth opportunities that would compromise this ideal quality of life. Unfortunately, this became heartbreakingly prescient last year when she unexpectedly passed away at age 67 from pancreatic cancer. I cannot imagine how grateful she was in those final days that she decided to live her ideal life while she was working, not just at the end. So I took these 3 elements, purpose, passion, quality of life, and a few years ago decided to reimagine my own idea of success based around the impact that I want to make, the things that I love to do and that bring me inherent satisfaction, and on revolving my career around the things that matter most to me in my life. I defined what enough feels like for me, and then from that point, that's how I make my decisions. I've said no to a major CEO role. I stopped working every day at 3 o'clock. I don't work nights and weekends anymore. I limit my work travel so that I can be home to tuck my kids in for bed, so I can travel with my friends and explore my passions, so I can be home for home-cooked dinners and eating in the park with our neighbors. And I probably could have more at this point. And it doesn't matter, because I'm no longer relentlessly pursuing things that don't make me happy. I'm intentionally choosing the things that do. Because here's the truth. The way that you define success is one of the most consequential things you will do in your life. It defines what you spend the majority of your waking hours on during the day, what you're willing to compromise and sacrifice, how the quality of your work and your life feels. So I ask you, are you still imagining some idea of success that's based on someone else's flawed thinking? Or are you willing to reimagine your own success on your terms so that you can truly flourish and live your ideal life right now and not just someday in the future that may or may not come? Thank you.